Hey everybody, this video is for the 8.2 notes on estimating a population proportions. This is confidence intervals, all strictly about proportions. Now we did this first semester last year at the end of the semester. So I'm going to go ahead and post these first 16 slides that are just the basics of confidence intervals that we've already really talked about first semester or again last year. So if you just want to go through and copy what we have done, I'm going to jump ahead to what we didn't talk about first semester, and that is what's called the four-step process for AP questions. I'm going to keep the smaller version up here so I can toggle back and forth a little bit easier. But this four-step process, and this is blank in your guided notes, 4 steps being state, plan, do, and then conclude. And this is for many FRQs, definitely for confidence interval FRQs, but it'll be other FRQs that if you see a question and they take up a little bit of space and you see a giant blank area, most likely we're going to want to do one of these 4-step process questions. So we're going to do it here for confidence intervals. The state is you state the parameter you want to estimate and the confidence level. This is a lot simpler than what it seems. It's going to be in the question every time. It's going to be the part of the problem where it says construct and interpret such and such % confidence interval for blah, 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 blah. So the state will really be given in the question. Nice. The plan is identify the inference. So for now, it's going to be a confidence interval for a proportion, and check the conditions that go along with that. So those 3 conditions that, again, I posted the completed notes. I think it's up a little bit higher in slides 1 through 16. The do is actually making the confidence interval, and I'll show you a little calculator cheat as well. And then the conclude is that interpretation that we got in the notes yesterday, the we are blank % confident that the interval blank blank, the math libs that I gave you in class. So let's do an example of one of these 4-step processes. If I go a little too fast at any point while you're copying the notes, just pause it and go back or rewind. I'm going to jump into this problem. A recent poll of 738 randomly selected cell phone users found that 170 of the respondents admitted to walking into something or someone while talking on their phone. Construct and interpret a 95% confidence interval for the proportion of all cell phone users who would admit to walking into something or someone while talking on their phone. Well, in my 4-step process, the first step is state. And the state is right here. Construct and interpret a 95% confidence interval for the proportion of all cell phone users who would admit to walking into something or someone while talking on their phone. This satisfies the state because it has the parameter being the proportion of all cell phone users who admit to walking into something or someone on their phone. And then the level of confidence is also in there. 95% is my level of confidence. So for the state, in this case, the state is literally that last sentence of the problem. Now the plan is state your inference procedure and check the conditions. So we're going to check conditions here for what's called a 1 sample Z interval. And the conditions, again, were up here. Let me go back. I kept this little sidebar so I could toggle. Here are the conditions. So we're going to check the random 10% and large counts condition. That's what I do in the plan. And a little bit of flexibility in naming the test. Technically, this is a 1 sample Z interval, but you could easily put confidence interval for a population proportion. Or confidence interval for a proportion is even fine. Okay, that's what we're doing here. We're making a confidence interval for proportion. Technically, it is a 1 sample Z interval for a population proportion P. So my conditions here, random. Well, it was met because it says my sample was random. 738 randomly selected cell phone users. So check. We do have to write it out here in AP. 10%. It's reasonable to assume 738 is less than 10% of all cell phone users, for sure. So that's met. And then large counts, this is the NP times N1 minus P. So remember, N is 378. Let me go ahead and type this down here just so you can see what I'm talking about. So when I say NP, or really technically it's NP hat. I don't know how to put a hat on this. I'll just write NP hat. NP hat would be 738, technically, times 170 over 738. You don't have to technically show this because 738 in the numerator, this 738 cancels with this one, and you get 170. So it's a lot simpler than actually having to do the math. But if you did the math, it would look like this. Or if you made 170 over 378 into a decimal and you multiplied it by 378, it would be 170. So that's why it looks a little bit different than how we checked it first semester. So here, the number of successes, this is N times P, or sorry, N times P hat, this is 170. And the number of failures, N would be N times 1 minus P hat, is just the rest. If this many succeeded, that means 568 out of the 738 failed. In either case, they're both at least 10, so that's met. So in the plan, I check my conditions. And in the do, so for the do, I calculate my P hat, 170 over 378. As a decimal, that's 0.23. My formula for confidence intervals, let me go back to that in case you haven't looked at slides 1 through 16 yet. My general formula for confidence intervals, well, here it is right here. I think it's in the very beginning. Here's my general formula. P hat plus or minus Z star times the square root of P hat times 1 minus P hat over N. This is my general formula for confidence intervals. Not quite on the exam sheet looking that way, so you do have to memorize that. So you could do the formula. So P hat we calculated plus or minus Z star for 95% confidence. That's one of the common Z stars, 1.96 times square root. Here's P hat times 1 minus P hat over N. And if you type that in the calculator, you get this as my confidence interval. Now there is another way. Let me go ahead and pause this and open up my calculator. I'll show you the calculator cheat. All right, so here's the do again. I just paused for a second recording to open my calculator screen. So here's the do if you do it the long way using the formula, and this is great. This is especially great if they give you the proportion as a decimal, because the calculator cheat doesn't work so well if they give it to you as a decimal. But in this case, it will. So let me just show you the other way you could do this. In your Inspire, you can do confidence intervals. How you do it, you go to Menu, Statistics, and then looky here, Confidence Intervals. Try to scroll back so you can see it again. So Menu, Statistics, their option 6 is confidence intervals. And we want to pick a 1 prop, that stands for proportion, Z interval. Another advantage of using this is you can, in your plan, when we check conditions, this is the name of the interval, name of the inference method. So it does kind of give you that little help in naming the inference method. And then it asks for successes and your sample size. Let me go back to the problem. So successes were 170. And the sample size was 738. So 170. 738, I think it was 95% confidence. Yep, so leave this as 0.95. And here is the interval. Notice it's slightly different than the one in the PowerPoint. That's because of rounding. Notice the calculator here used a lot more decimal places. On the AP exam, as long as you show, this is what you would show in the AP exam, you would show this work. And let me go and snip that out and put it in the PowerPoint so I can post these slides. So I'm going to snip out this guy. So from your calculator screen, as long as you report the P hat, the margin of error, and your interval, this is the interval. You'd probably put it in parentheses like we do in class. But there it is. Same do, just slightly different way of doing the do. So the interval here was 0.20. It actually ends up rounding to the same if you look at it closely. It depends how many places you use. This would be 0.261, so very close to the same. But you would report p hat, margin of error, and then obviously your interval. Then the conclude, that's the easy part. That's the fill in the blanks. We are 95% confident that the interval from 0.2 to 0.26, or if you use the calculator, you'd say 0.261, captures the true proportion of all cell phone users who would admit to walking into something or someone while talking on their phone. So here's an example of the four-step process. Now in the problems I left after the notes, I think there are 2 of them where it says use the four-step process. I want you to go ahead and try to use the state, plan, do, conclude process to answer those questions. When I'm back, I'll give you some sample AP questions as well. All right, I got about 4 minutes left in my recording. I want to talk about one more thing from the notes. I want to talk about, and I'll post all of these slides. I want to talk about choosing the sample size. So we did talk in class about how important it is for margin of error, especially a lot of times we want a small margin of error. So sometimes I'm asked, well, how big of a sample do I want? Or how big of a sample do I need? What do I need this N in the bottom of this formula? What do I need N to be that gives me a certain margin of error? And the bad part about this is you got to do a little bit of algebra, or I'll show you a cheat in the calculator for that also, but sometimes I'm asked for a specific margin of error given some proportion. Sometimes you're going to be asked, if you don't know a proportion, we're going to be told to use 0.5 as an estimate. Like just say you're guessing 50-50. So let's see how some of these problems look. Actually, let me rewind. Here's my margin, my simple basic margin of error formula. So if I want to know what size sample do I need for a specified margin of error, we're going to have values to plug in for everything but N, and you just got to do a little bit of algebra to solve it. So let me get to one here. Let me keep going through these slides also, actually. If we don't know the value of p hat, because we haven't done the study, right? We want to pick an N, but if we don't have an N, it means we don't have a p hat. We didn't do a sample. So there's 2 ways of getting a p hat. Sometimes you can use a guess of p hat based on some other study or a similar study. So sometimes they'll give you a p hat to use. If they don't give you a p hat, we're going to use 0.5 as the best guess. And then from there, try to figure out, well, how big of a sample would I need to get a specified margin of error? So let's look at how this works. So a company has received complaints about its customer service. The managers intend to hire a consultant to carry out a survey of customers. Before contacting the consultant, the company president wants some idea of the sample size she'll be required to pay for. One value of interest is the proportion P of customers who are satisfied with the company's customer service. She decides that she wants to estimate to be within 3 percentage points. So here's my margin of error. At a 95% confidence level, there's my Z star, and I want to know how large of a sample is needed. So if I look at my formula, let me go back to my general formula first. Here's my general formula. Things we know. We know Z star for a 95% confidence is 1.96. So I know that. We know the margin of error they told us was 0.03 or 3%. So that's 0.03. They didn't tell us p hat. So for p hat, if they don't tell you a p hat, we use 0.5 as a guess. And algebraically, if you solve this, this will kind of take you through the steps here. You start out, you divide both sides by 1.96. And then to cancel the square root, you square both sides. I want to move the n over here to the right side to get it in the numerator. So multiply n to the other side. That's what happened here. And then the last thing is we're going to divide this big squared piece to both sides. And this is what you're typing in the calculator. I know it's nasty, and I'll show you a cheat when I'm back in class, but if you solve that